Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, RNM cleaner worker shot in Kingston. An employee of the RNM Cleaner Communications Group was reportedly shot and injured in the vicinity of the Harborview roundabout in Kingston on Tuesday morning. The circumstances surrounding the incident are still unclear at the moment, but it is understood that the media worker, who is reportedly an engineer at TVJ, was disarmed and shot in the neck by a mentally ill individual sometime after 9 a.m. He was rushed to hospital while the alleged shooter is in police custody. Police are presently processing the scene of the incident, which has resulted in a massive traffic buildup in the area. Man fatally shot by police in Kingsland, Manchester. A man was fatally shot during an alleged confrontation with the police in Kingsland, Manchester on Tuesday morning. Police named the man as Orlando Clive Waite, otherwise called Garth, a resident of Kingsland. Police said that sometime between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., a team went on an operation at a premises in Kingsland when Waite, who was reportedly armed, confronted them. The police opened fire and Waite was hit. He was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. Police said a firearm was seized. The Independent Commission of Investigations is probing the incident. Probe launched into death of Portmore lockup inmate. The Inspectorate of Professional Standards Oversight Bureau and the Independent Commission of Investigations have launched a probe into the death of an inmate at the Portmore lockup in St. Catherine. He has been identified as 22-year-old Jerome Hills of 7 Rainford Road, Kingston. Reports state that about 8:35 a.m. on Monday, Hills, who was in custody on a charge of murder, complained of feeling ill. He was transported to the Spanish Town Hospital, where he died. JFB warns against leaving children alone at home. The Jamaica Fire Brigade is appealing to parents and the guardians not to leave children unsupervised at home. JFB Commissioner Stuart Beckford made the plea during an interview with the news, where he disclosed that 4 of the 27 fire-related deaths in 2024 were children aged 1 to 8 years. I do not encourage us leaving a child at home. Teenagers, those who are responsible, maybe 15 years and up, we probably could think about that, but a child should never be left at home any at all. The deaths that we have seen in relation to children and the fires, all of these involve children who were left on their own, said Commissioner Beckford. He informed that among the children who died were 2 8-year-olds from Westmoreland who were left alone in a house without electricity and were using candles, which ultimately caused the fire. The 1-year-old was left in the company of the 4-year-old. Now that's a no-no. The 4-year-old managed to get his hand on a lighter, was playing with it, and that is what started the fire. So we discourage leaving children on their own, Commissioner Beckford appealed. He also cautioned against leaving children in the care of adults who may have physical challenges and could be unable to safely escape in the event of a fire. He further advised the persons to leave in the building immediately once a fire is discovered. Don't try to save anything, save yourself. As I have always said, material things can be replaced. A life lost is one that we will never be able to replace, and you cannot put a price on life. So we encourage first, once there is a fire, leave the building, he said. Beachgoers urged to be vigilant during crocodile nesting season. Beachgoers are being urged to exercise vigilance during the crocodile nesting season, which lasts from November to June. Founder and administrator of the Holland Bay Crocodile Sanctuary in St. Thomas, Lawrence Henriquez, informed that during this period, female crocodiles are protective of their nest. The thing with crocodiles is, know your seasons. Know that November to June is the nesting period, which is reproductive, gestation of the eggs, laying of the eggs, incubation of the eggs in the ground for 3 months, and some hatching around the end of May to June, Henriquez explained. He was speaking to journalists during a recent media tour of the sanctuary, organized by the National Environment and Planning Agency. If you do meet up with a crocodile, if you happen to be walking along the beach and you're walking near the edge of the beach towards the land, especially if there is water behind, like in the bushes or the mangroves, then always be vigilant. Female crocodiles are not going to normally nest in an area far away from a water source, Enriquez said. He pointed out that this occurrence happens a lot in St. Elizabeth, along Jamaica's southern coastline, and in some cases there may be signs that indicate a crocodile has nested. You can even see tracks sometimes. You look around, you'll see trap marks sometimes, and if you see something like a mound or a disturbed area, give it a little wider berth, because the female may be close by and you don't want to be surprised by her, Enriquez said. Some won't do much, but one or two might actually come towards you, and the best thing to do in that type of situation is politely turn around and discreetly go the other way. Water quality debate continues. Chairman of the Public Health and the Sanitation Committee of the KSAMC, Jesse James Clark, is again calling for the National Water Commission to advise the public on the issues it is facing in water quality. Mr. Clark raised the issue following a committee meeting this month. He said the concern stems from data provided by the NWC itself about the issues it is facing with the levels of bacteria found in the water, both at the source and in distribution. In a follow-up discussion with the news on Monday, Mr. Clark has said, based on his observations from visits to the site, there was no filtration taking place, which further compounded the problem.
At source is before the water leaves the facility and it's distributed. You test it before it's distributed. The positivity rate for coliform should not be greater than 5%. At source it was 1.8, but in distribution it was 5%, which could mean that along the distribution line you're having a leak or water, untreated water has been introduced to the line. So that one is on the borderline, but we'll give it a pass. For rural St. Andrew, those water treatment sites at source, they tested 221 samples and 23.1% were positive, which is way above the 5%. And for distribution, it was 16%, 16.7%, which is way above the 5%, what it should be for the 5%. They just need to communicate with the residents. They are not unreasonable. We understand that water is coming from nature. So from time to time, you have some challenges, but you need to communicate with the residents so they know, okay, we need to boil our water, or we need to, and let them know when everything is back to normal and what they did to get it back to normal. Because NWC will have to tell me no, not only the numbers have returned to normal, but they have to tell me what they did, because some of these sites need some infrastructure upgrades for them to maintain these normal results.
But the National Water Commission has asserted that it acts quickly whenever there are issues affecting its distribution of the commodity. Acting Corporate Communications Manager Delano Williams, responding, also said measures are implemented to ensure safe water reaches NWC customers. Mr. Williams therefore took issue with Mr. Clark's assertion that customers of the agency were at risk.
So you may again pick up adverse readings along the network. We take those readings and we act on them. So if it requires a shutdown of the network to identify where the leak point or whatever external activity is happening, and that is what we seek to treat with. So we're not going to pretend that the environmental factors do not threaten water quality. And so we have seen the need for both the immediate actions, which is what we take as part of our standard operating procedure. We're not trying to counter the fact that ongoing work will be necessary in terms of bolstering a number of the facilities. What we're saying is that the steps we currently take to treat with the water supply is in a bid to assure our customers that the water is safe for consumption. So the statement is saying boil water. The Ministry of Health would be the authority to provide that kind of advisory. Secondly, the statement also suggested that the entire KSA would have been at risk in terms of water quality. That is potentially causing a level of fear and panic. You may have seen further snippets of the video which no longer limit it to KSA, but it's now trending right across the country.
Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.